Hello, everyone. I'm Ernie Humphrey, the CEO of Treasury Webinars. I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to join us for our webinar today, AP Automation, Hype, or Game Changer. I would like to thank our webinar partner today, SAP Concur, whose strong commitment to thought leadership helps us make this webinar possible today. There is more and more hype around AP automation. Hype is normally just that, hype. In this case, the hype is absolutely warranted. Companies of all sizes are leveraging technology to establish visibility, benchmark costs and expenses, and establish controls which lower invoice processing costs, improve supplier relationships, and facilitate more control of how and when they pay their suppliers. Before I delve into the content today, I'm going to offer a few quick words about Treasury webinars, cover a few housekeeping items, and then review our learning objectives as they represent our value proposition to you for investing an hour of your valuable time with us today. At Treasury Webinars, we offer webinars designed to empower Treasury, accounts payable, and accounts receivable success at companies of all sizes across all industries. We only do what we do best, webinars. Now for the exciting housekeeping items. For those of you attending today who are interested in receiving CTP credit, you'll have to answer all of our polling questions, remain online for the duration of the webinar, and take our post-webinar survey. If you have any questions regarding CTP credit, please send an email to ernie@treasurywebinars.com. I've put my email address in the chat area of your GoToWebinar control panel. Speaking of your chat/questions area of your GoToWebinar control panel, I'd love to hear from you today. I can take your questions at any time during the webinar. All you have to do is input your question into the chat/questions area of your GoToWebinar control panel. I'll do my best to get to your questions during the Q&A session, time permitting, at the end of the webinar. Fear not. If I do not get to your question today, I will follow up with you directly to address your question. Finally, we appreciate your consideration in taking a short survey at the end of our webinar today, as we always strive to improve the ROI we offer our event attendees for their valuable time. So what are our learning objectives? What are the components of my value proposition to you for investing an hour of your time today? I'd like you to be able to understand why AP deserves to be a strategic priority at your company, and also, if you're not the CFO, to be able to communicate this effectively up the ladder. I'd like you to be able to identify specific opportunities to leverage AP automation to mitigate invoice processing costs at your company, identify opportunities to improve supplier relationships and productivity across the enterprise by leveraging AP automation at your company, identify opportunities to take more control of how and when you pay suppliers by leveraging AP automation at your company. And I'd also like you to understand 10 specific ways the bottom line can be impacted when you invest in accounts payable automation. The last point is incredibly important. A lot of times there's low-hanging fruit, but projects fall short because of the communication of the business case. So this slide I have with these 10 reasons that AP automation can impact the bottom line is extremely important, and that's why it's more than hype. So if you're not the CFO, this slide is awesome to engage the CFO. It talks to how accounts payable done right not only impacts costs, it also impacts top line revenue, it impacts productivity, and in public companies, it can even impact your earnings per share. So that'll get any CFO's attention. So how are we going to accomplish our objectives today? Well, we're gonna take a little journey on the evolution of accounts payable, and I think that really helps us understand why all this AP automation is not really hype. All the hype is warranted, and so I think it's really important for a couple of reasons. A couple other reasons might be that if your accounts payable function is not viewed as a strategic partner at your company, that is where we're going in the world of accounts payable, and companies of all sizes can make this happen. We'll talk about 10 steps to efficient invoice processing, and we'll talk about supplier relationship management, some of the challenges and opportunities. And one thing that I'm seeing more and more attention to, and I certainly pay attention to, is how AP done right allows us to facilitate more productive relationships with our suppliers. And those relationships really empower us to take control of how and when we make payments. So we no longer need to accept that writing checks is a way of doing business. And we also need to get that visibility into whether or not we are accepting discounts, which we should almost always be doing. And then we'll talk about some more invoice processing challenges and opportunities. We'll talk about how you can take control of payments. Again, the challenges and opportunities. and then we'll once again review 10 ways AP automation done right impacts the bottom line. Then we'll wrap up with some closing thoughts and some time Q&A, time permitting. So let's go ahead and level set a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and launch our first polling question, asking you to share with us the primary challenge within your accounts payable function today. Maybe not enough resources to manage the volume, workflows are inconsistent, reporting is limited, no audit trail makes vendor inquiries difficult, or maybe at this point you really don't know. I appreciate everyone's consideration in answering all of our polling questions here today. Those of you who are interested in receiving CTP credits for today's webinar, I'll need you to answer all of our polling questions here today. I'm going to go ahead and leave the polling question up for another 5 or 10 seconds or so in order to be mindful of our time. We have an action-packed webinar today. I want to make sure we have time to get through all of the content. So let me go ahead and close that polling question here. Let's go ahead and take a quick peek at those results. So what we see, pretty even between the top three: not enough resources, workflows are inconsistent, reporting is limited. So not all that surprising. I would have expected maybe a little bit more on the top: not enough resources to manage the volume. But the good news is that automation and technology done right, along with the right processes and the right AP solution provider, can really help you address all of these. So obviously they are all interrelated. Those of you who said, I don't know, that's your homework assignment, right? If you're not an AP manager, if you're a treasurer or CFO, it'd be a great idea for you to have a conversation. A lot of times, like when I was in treasury, I really didn't get into the weeds a lot with accounts payable. I wish I would have, because there's a lot of business complexity there, and there's a lot of opportunity to make things better. And so that's your homework there. So I hope you will do that. So let's go ahead and talk about the evolution of accounts payable. One of the reasons I really like this slide is because when I was in treasury, we weren't seeing much attention being paid to accounts payable. And I think the technology that we've seen over the past, now it's been 3 to 4 years, is really what's driving this evolution. So this is just something kind of to show you if you might be in the case where you feel like, you know, AP at your company is getting little value. Well, the good news is that we're seeing that very valuable. So survey respondents from an Ardent Partners survey said AP is viewed as very valuable at their company, exceptionally valuable. So we see 52% of accounts payable is perceived as very valuable or exceptionally valuable. That kind of blew me away, right? Because when I was in treasury, which was more than 5 years ago, we wouldn't have seen that. I think we would have seen, this is just a fact, we probably would have seen less than 20%, 15 or 20% there. So this is very encouraging. So what I think we'll see is more and more companies really are educated and make that investment into seeing how investing in accounts payable done right can offer tremendous value to their company. We'll see this chart pivot. So we'll see this 34% go to 42. We'll see that 42 go up to exceptionally valuable. And let's see this go to 0, because there's no way that should be 0. In accounts payable at any company of any size in any industry should be more than just a cost center in today's world. So just part of the kind of the development of the evolution, just to show where we are and how far we've already come. We're looking at these areas managed and supported by accounts payable. Again, if we'd have looked at these functions even 5 years ago or more, we probably would have seen probably 20% at most on all of these. So AP is being charged with helping in fraud prevention, P2P technology, which I love to see. I think the reason that we're seeing 60% here is because of the cloud-based solutions. So with a cloud-based solution, that onus doesn't have to go on IT, so you don't have to necessarily go to IT and do all these requests and sit there and say, ooh, IT. So it doesn't need to be driven by IT. You absolutely need to communicate with IT and make sure they're aware, but we can take more ownership of that. Improving payments platforms, again, that's technology related. Supply chain finance, working capital. Again, the first step of this is getting that visibility to discounts. Spend management. So as we get that, we'll talk about, as we get this visibility, we're able to look at what our spend is by suppliers. Let's help us with our supplier negotiations. So let's add value to our purchasing folks, manage that spend, right? You can't manage what you can't see, right? This is what I love, supplier relationship management. Ernie would love to see this be up here 100% because I think this is really important. And then, well, I guess I'm a treasury person, cash management and corporate liquidity. So just to show all these things are possible, and these are places where we can lead from accounts payable. And then where are we going, right? So right to the other side. So it's great to see where we're going in the next couple of years. So these are expectations that you should have of your accounts payable department, because again, the technology is out there, the thought leadership resources are out there, there's free resources, you can connect your AP team with other AP leaders that have already been through this journey. It's a very exciting time for accounts payable. So some of the expectations: functional collaboration, right? Leading across the enterprise from AP, love it. Full automation, 59%. I'm glad to see that. Innovation ready, right? This is another one that I love, because even more than, again, 5 years ago or so, I think AP was seen as a function that was resistant to change. And so I think part of the automation is there's two groups of people, right? Some people in AP are a little afraid their job's going away, but the other people are saying, hey, this is an opportunity to redefine the value proposition of accounts payable. And that's the way that I tell all people to look at it. So if you're going into investing in accounts payable, I wouldn't go into it as reducing headcount. That's not what I would do. I would go into it and look at, okay, let's look at this invoice processing cost reduction, right? There's where our cost comes out. Now we're giving more time back to our employees that we already had. How can we get more value from them in letting them perform strategic activities? And that's where I think a lot of companies are going. So just a few more: enterprise experience, operational perspective, intelligence hub, data. So this is a point I made the other day. I think I raised a few eyeballs. If I was in the seminar, I would see. I believe that technology innovation can be led by accounts payable. So I'm kind of giving away the punchline here a little bit, but I like to view this slide twice, right? So here's the value proposition for AP done right. The value proposition driven by technology often. However, we have to be mindful of our people and process as well. And again, the right solution provider can help us on all fronts. So how does AP done right impact the bottom line? We'll talk about how to do these things in a little bit. Mitigate invoice processing costs, mitigates the payment of duplicate invoices. That's actually caught automatically in a lot of the solutions. Mitigates time spent resolving supplier issues, disputes. When I see survey data on how much time folks are spending on the phone with suppliers, managing disputes, it's almost mind-blowing to me. So a lot of that has to do with the asymmetry of information. So if we're looking at the same information at the same time, or we have the ability to see all communications with our suppliers, we can cut those off at the pass. Again, that visibility allows discounts to be captured. If we are able to process our invoices effectively, we might be able to facilitate some terms, maybe net 10, maybe even lower. It impacts the productivity of employees processing invoices. From your own company perspective, just think of how much time is spent manual processes, on the phone. So anything that requires manual intervention, manual time, manual intervention in the workflow. You can mitigate payment processing costs. As I alluded to earlier, checks are 10 times more costly to process than electronic payments. So there's a lot of processing costs. So just making the shift away from a check-heavy company to ACH can be a huge pillar of that value proposition. If you're able to convert some of your suppliers to commercial cards, you can get rebates. Improves our working capital management. It gives us visibility into our spend, gives us visibility into the timing of the spend. So it helps our treasury professionals plan our cash deployments more and avoid making mistakes in terms of potentially borrowing when we don't need to, or really going into foreign currency trades we don't need to. And then it also impacts the productivity of employees approving and affecting payments. So when we have mobile approval capabilities and things that don't really cause us to spend time in terms of approval and actually pushing the button to get those payments out, that visibility that can help. So we can impact that visibility across the enterprise. So let's go ahead and launch our next polling question again, just to kind of take your temperature a little bit before I dig in even deeper. I'm just curious if you'd share with me where your company is at in terms of automating AP. Maybe you're just in the discovery phase. Maybe you're currently evaluating AP automation solution. Maybe you have a short list. Maybe you're already kind of down that road. You're implementing, have AP automation in place, or you don't know at this point. Again, I appreciate everyone's consideration in answering all of our polling questions here today. Again, those of you interested in receiving CTP credits for today's webinar, you will have to answer all of our polling questions. Want to once again remind you that I can take your questions in the chat/questions area of your GoToWebinar control panel. I'm going to go ahead and close the polling question here. In a couple more seconds, we'll take a quick peek, and then we're going to compare your results to survey data for webinars of mine in the past that have focused on AP done right, and see where we fall in terms of you guys in our audience today. All right, let's go ahead and close the polling question. Thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time to answer the polling question. So we have 16% of you just starting the discovery phase, and about 30% of you discovery phase are currently evaluating, and also another 10% have a short list. So hopefully one of the big takeaways that you'll get from this webinar is really some of the best questions to ask. And so, we'll talk about the benefits that you can possibly receive from investing in AP automation. So maybe you'll take some of the slides and have these conversations and say, I was on a webinar and I heard that AP automation can allow us to do this and this and this. So how does that work? And so I think that'll be incredibly helpful. Those of you who are already implementing or have an AP automation solution in place, one of the big takeaways for you will be that you should look at what you're going to be doing, implementing, or what you're doing right now, and see if you're realizing all the benefits that I'm outlining here. If not, why not? Are all your potential users leveraging the technology to its greatest ability? Are there things that you can do a better job of leveraging? Maybe there's better reporting that you can do that can allow you to take more control of how and when you make payments. And then those of you that say, I don't know, again, you're going to have some homework today. It would be awesome if you would go and find out. And if there's really not much going on, then you're going to look like a hero. You can go in a couple slides and say, wow, there's a lot of AP automation. I know you hear there's a lot of hype, but we really need to take a look at this. It doesn't take long. You just start to look at the very top, and it starts to make sense really quickly for you to invest a little time. So let's go ahead and take a look at what I've seen on my past webinars. We had a little bit more folks in the discovery phase, about the same in implementing, having AP automation space. So we're a little bit, we're about the same on those metrics. So I love to see that there's a mix, right, of all different areas in terms of the AP automation maturity curve. And I am very confident that no matter where you are on that curve, you are going to get something out of our webinar here today. So thank you very much. This is just a slide real quick. This is my own graphics. I don't have the graphics department. I just like to show this because maybe you're a treasurer, maybe you're a CFO, you've never really been in the weeds of accounts payable. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this graphic here. I will mention that I'm happy to share the slide deck with you, so just send me an email. But I'm just trying to show here, there's a lot of people, process, and technology here. And there's a lot that goes on in terms of the supplier onboarding that doesn't really get a lot of attention. And so there's a lot of things that need to, our suppliers, we have the communication back and forth that needs to be efficient. We need to make sure that we onboard our suppliers, they're verified as legal entities, make sure that we're allowed to send them, do business with them, about the banking information, right? Is that right? Who do we send it to? The approvals. We might need to communicate with our bank. How is that working? And then what information are we sending along with our payments? Are we sending remittance information or not? So there's an awful lot of things going on. So again, if you've never done this, I would really encourage you to take a look at your AP process. So one of the things that I would really encourage you to do, if you've not done, is map your AP process from end to end, right? So from start to finish, all the places you have people and systems and processes, And so it may be more complicated than what we have here, but I think it's really important. Again, this on supplier communication back and forth, all this just for onboarding. We need to get the approvals, get the payment out the door. There's a lot going on here. What about communicating with the bank? What about communicating back with our suppliers? So we want efficient and effective communications with our suppliers. We want proactive supplier relationship management. And in doing so, we want to make sure that we are offering as much valuable as possible. The more value that we offer to our suppliers, the more control we're going to be able to have over how and when we make payments. So just some challenges faced today, just to kind of give you some context here. And those of you who are really in the AP processing world will be shaking your head. So, and then these are things, if you haven't done this, if you're maybe the treasurer CFO, I would go back and ask my AP staff, what are the top 3 or 4 challenges that you guys face over here every day? And then, you'll see high percentage of exceptions, payments, too much paper, high invoice processing costs, lack of visibility. Any one of these things should motivate you to look at AP automation, right? Those are challenges, those are pain points. It's just not necessary to have those in today's world. And then the other thing that I always stress is that your company is hopefully it's growing, it's changing. Maybe you're growing a lot. The number of invoices you process is growing. Maybe you're going into international markets. All those things, or you're doing mergers. All those things make things more complicated. So you need to be ready for that growth, right? The last thing you want is for your technology to be dictating your business practices. So we need to be able to support our business practices, and also as we grow, make sure that we are controlling our spend and that we are spending as effectively as possible. And so some more data here. Love this. Some great content from SAP Concur. So again, hyperlinks here if you want access to the presentation. So some top pain points before companies went to an automated scenario. So we got cumbersome manual process, tracking and spending behaviors, and then incomplete documentation. And then this is really cool data because the sample size is extremely robust, which you don't normally see. So you see the company size, right? There's a good variance there. There's a lot of different verticals, and then we've also got that international flavor as well. And so we've also got a pretty good mix around whether they use expense management software, invoice management software, or T&E management software. So this is really some really cool data. So I encourage you to take a look at the survey. Again, it's just, first of all, it's interesting. Second of all, it kind of helps you understand the challenges that you have. So we want to map our AP process end to end. If we're not in AP, we want to understand what are those challenges, right? And again, at the top line, what we want to do is say, okay, AP, let's take a good look in the mirror. This is where we're at, right? And then after this webinar, I say, ooh, this is where we want to go. And then hopefully I can help you fill in the gap. How do you get there? And technology, I think, is absolutely going to be a part of that. So now let's go ahead and take a look at just some AP survey data here. I didn't want to bombard you with too many polling questions here, but I asked folks the primary challenge with AP today in some of my past webinars. Pretty good sample size, 300 results. So again, just giving you some more flavor of another source of research data. 33% workflows were inconsistent, 27% not enough resources, reporting is limited, no audit trails. So for me, I think we actually asked this earlier. I think 27%, I would have expected this to be higher, but again, all of these are related. So once we get the technology right, all these things are going to go away. So let's talk about invoicing. So let's dig in a little bit. Top 10 steps to efficient invoicing. Again, this will help you map that end-to-end process, or if you've got this process mapped, let's go ahead and take a look, right? Sometimes you spend all this time doing this project for like a whole year, and then you put it aside, and then you don't review that again. But things change, and technology change, and the world of APs change. So we need to take a look at these things every year, if not every 6 months. So you want to start with an audit. You really need to understand what you're doing. You need to assess your current costs. So there's a great resource here again from my webinar partner, a 10-step guide to efficient vendor invoice process, which can give you some tools on how to assess your current costs. Also, some thought leadership resources on the SAP Concur website that can help you build up that cost. You want to identify inefficiencies you might have in paper and spreadsheet to help you build that business case. Again, trying to build that business case. Sources of potential time savings. So let's look at bottlenecks. Let's look at manual processes, right? Let's look at keying. You want to remove the margin for human error. Automation absolutely does this. You want to keep the process moving with mobile functionality, so you don't have managers and folks on the road who are holding up the process and bottlenecks, and ultimately preventing you from realizing discounts that you be able to offer, along with mitigating costs. Stop incurring unnecessary costs. Some of these costs, in my opinion, writing a whole bunch of checks is an unnecessary cost. You can have late fees because you're not able to process your invoices. Efficient invoicing, let your vendors self-service. So maybe it's a supplier portal. You get them access to a supplier portal. That way you're looking at the same information. They can see what they owe. It really mitigates any disputes that you might have. And then you want to provide the data and reports your business needs. So reporting is another whole webinar. But if you look at the information and benchmarks that your folks might need, I would say it usually could fall into two sections. One would be more of the management, maybe the CFO and the controller. And then the next level would be your AP manager. And so let's look at the processes. I'd say let's look at the health indicators, general trends, and costs. And that helps our senior management ask the right questions. And then let's look at the performance indicators as we go down and see how many invoices are we processing, what's the invoice by type, how long does it take us to resolve those issues, and things of that nature. The other thing that I think is important to do is to track how you're making payments in addition to how long it takes us. So are we doing at very top level? I would say let's look at our mix of checks versus electronic payments. That's the lowest hanging fruit. Why are we writing checks? Some advice that I would give, and this was confirmed after I spoke at a couple accounts payable conferences, was if you can work with procurement and actually write in there, right, how those payments are going to be made. They're going to be made electronically. I was surprised there wasn't much pushback on that side of it. And I think you really have to build this vision for change. What is that vision, right? I think I talked about this a little earlier. So where are you now? Take that look in the mirror. Where do you want to go? And that vision for change is how you're going to get there, right? What do you need in terms of people, process, and technology? Take a look at your resource assessment. What do you need? First of all, I encourage people to look at inherent barriers, see if we can remove or mitigate those. Do we have people issues? Do we have process issues? And then that'll help us lower the mountain we might need to climb to get to AP done right. So again, let's dig in a little bit more. I call this efficient invoicing. A look in the mirror. So these may be some cases to places where you can identify low-hanging fruit, right, and mitigate those invoice processing costs, which we talked about, one of our learning objectives. How many invoices do you receive by paper, by mail? Can you accept emails, invoices from vendors today? Are they sent from a central place? What percentage of your invoices must be scanned? So, if you answer, yes, I receive a lot of emails on paper, by mail. Okay, is there a way for me to get these? I like to call it the electronification of the process. So if you're communicating with electronic documents back and forth, that's really the cat's meow. And then invoice processing. Do you still use spreadsheets? What percentage get manually rekeyed? Again, waste of time, not value add. And how many people are in the review and approval process? How long does it take? So if you're the treasury manager, CFO, and even the AP manager, this is a really cool slide because you could say, okay, these are the questions that I want to ask. So this will help me immediately identify areas for improvement. And then again, some of the things that we talked about earlier, just putting in a question format all together. How often do you receive duplicate invoices? Are you able to weed those out? How long does that take? How often do you pay invoices late? Why? I would encourage you not to do that, but let's at least make educated decisions. Do you incur late fees? How much does it cost you? And again, how much time does your team spend answering payment inquiries? Again, a lot of this information is in more detail in the resource that I mentioned earlier, a 10-step guide to an efficient vendor invoice process, a good read. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the next polling question just to get a sense of the hurdle that we need to climb each month for our audience. Just hoping you'll share with me how many invoices your company processes each month. Is it less than 50, 50 to 99, 100 to 249, 250 to 500, or more than 500? I want to remind everyone that I can still take your questions in the questions area of your GoToWebinar control panel. Also want to encourage everyone to reach out to me directly if you have any questions regarding the content today, or if you're looking to make connections to other Treasury CFOs and professionals that might face the same challenges you do. Maybe you're looking, maybe I can connect you with someone that has the same ERP system, same industry. So to me, that's always helpful when you're able to make those connections, especially if you're in the stage of looking at those providers and trying to decide the best provider. So let's go ahead and just take a quick peek at the polling questions. I don't like to ask questions and not share the results. So let's take a quick peek. So we've got the vast majority of you, 62%, more than 500. The point I like to make here is that just because you don't have that 500 or more a month, it doesn't mean that AP automation is not going to offer you an ROI. So mitigating the cost per invoice is definitely one pillar of the value proposition, but there's a couple other pieces I've already mentioned, that the productivity impacts, right? Mitigating the non-value add activities. There might be a huge discrepancy. You might not have a lot of invoices, but it may be a difference of $50, $60, $70, $80 between what you're doing now and what you could achieve by lowering those invoice processing costs. And the other thing is that we can also take more control of how we make payments, which can be tremendously valuable as well. So thank you very much, everyone, for answering the polling question. So let's go ahead and talk about the little efficient invoicing post-payment, and then some more questions to ask, right, to help you identify areas that might be areas for improvement. How competent are you? You have a full audit trail for compliance purposes. Doesn't everybody love when the auditors come in and want to trace the transaction from A to Z? Wouldn't it be nice if you could just give them a password and say, here you go, here's a system, it's all there, boom, boom. I would have loved that back in my day. Is it easy to see what has been spent per department? So again, you want to look at that reporting, right? So we can start to look at those trends. Can you easily identify spending fees for negotiations? So one of the things where we can be an intelligence hub is to provide information to our procurement department that they might be able to use for negotiations. Look at the amount of spend, look at how we're paying them, look at discounts and see if that works. And then can you easily integrate data with other spending metrics? So you want to see that full financial picture. So again, 2 points there. You want that visibility, but you also want to have what I call systems integrability. So if you have an AP automation solution, you want to make sure that integrates with your ERP system. And just a quick technology note, ERP systems were not meant to optimize accounts payable. And so what I like to say is an AP automation solution helps you supercharge your ERP. And most of the solutions out here are built to communicate with those. So let's give you a little more little insight here on how to access your current costs. And this is just a little example here to run you through, just to give you some context if you're interested in going through this exercise at your company. So let's take a look. We'll call these Hammer Time Hardware. Hammer Time Hardware is in the beautiful, amazing town of Indianapolis, 10 locations throughout the Midwest and 200 employees. So let's just take a look at, some of the things that might impact that. We want to look at how many invoices we process. We need to look at the average salary per staff, the time spent on data capture, time spent on approvals, time spent on exception handling, and the annual hours spent on invoice processing, and then that can give us just that processing cost. But here's what I want to point out on this slide, which I said earlier. 6 hours per month, and I would say maybe it should be even more than that. You look at this time spent on an invoice handling a month. So let's say you have a big operation, you've got maybe 10 people, 100, whatever, 10 people, 20 people doing this, and it's not 6 hours per month. I've seen some folks exception handling 4 to 6 hours a day, right? 6 hours, $90 per person times 5 hours times 50, 50 weeks. Wow, that number is huge. So that's a place. But I think this helps you kind of get in that mindset. Again, if you want more information on how to do this, right, as a company, please reach out to me and I'll see if I can get you connected with the right folks there. So let's go ahead and launch our next polling question. I know you all are so happy with all my polling questions. So just kind of level set to where you might be at in terms of invoice processing costs, $5 or less, maybe between 10 and 20, but 5 and 10, 10 to 20, more than 20, or you don't know. I want to once again remind all of our folks who might be interested in CTP credits for today's webinar. I'll need you to answer all of our polling questions. Of course, I appreciate everyone's consideration in answering all of our polling questions here today. In order to be mindful of our time, I'm going to go ahead and just leave this polling question up for a few seconds, then we'll just take a quick peek and I'll just make a few comments about what I'm seeing. And then we'll go ahead and talk more about efficient invoices, and we'll talk about where we can look to really lower the invoice processing costs. Not surprisingly, we'll talk a little bit about removing paper and then getting ourselves off a spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and close that. Let's take a quick peek. And all right, we've got 52% of you. I don't know, which is a little higher than I expected. The good news is you have one tremendous takeaway from this webinar. 50% of you. I strongly encourage you to find out what that number is. So again, a big piece of the value proposition is lowering that invoice processing costs. So I think that's a really good place. One of the good things to start when you look in the mirror. So so if maybe it's you don't know and you have it, or maybe it's you have it but you need to look at it again. But I think it's really important. Those of you who are at $5 or less, congratulations. That's fantastic. I think we're starting to see, what I'm seeing in the survey results is when I first started looking 2 or 3 years ago, I was seeing over $20, but now I'm seeing quite a bit in this 10 to 20, the 10 to 20 range. Again, of course, where you stand depends on where you sit, right? How complicated it is. But the good news is there's benchmarks out there by your industry and potentially what ERP systems that you use. But my final point again, 50% of you don't know. I would love for you to find that out. Again, as far as invoice processing costs, figure out where you're at, right? And talked about how to look at those places for we can improve, and then where do you want to be, and then let's help you figure out how to get there. Thank you very much, everyone, for answering the polling question. So probably not news to everyone, but I think it just kind of sheds some light. The problem with paper, easily lost or forgotten, copies, no visibility, the struggle with spreadsheets. We can do a webinar that lasts 5 hours on why spreadsheets are evil. Spreadsheets are not evil, by the way. Everybody needs spreadsheets, just don't do it in accounts payable. So it's hard to really take yourself off spreadsheets. They have value, but you have to know the risks that you're getting into. And you have to know if you can do better, right? What's the value to doing better? In this case, it's the bar is really low. You can always do better without leveraging spreadsheets as your main tool. Again, they're not built for process. You got manual entry, time consuming, no version control, and it's very hard. It's still hard. It's not as hard as it used to be to integrate data and pass data back and forth for your ERP. So just some more color there. Let's talk about some time-saving opportunities. Some low-hanging fruit there is if you can centralize where invoices are sent. If you have centralization, you're going to prevent confusion, delays, and then you can keep multiple copies of invoices from circulating. You would be amazed how sometimes copies of what are supposed to be the same invoice don't look exactly the same. You can, and we talked about this earlier, you can enable vendors to send electronic invoices. That really can simplify the process. And then this is a function of your maybe your automation solution that you're using. It's amazing how far some of the OCR technology is. When you get that invoice in a certain format, the software can actually read part of the format, and then you can actually start populating areas, doing application. It's amazing. And then you want to look to if you can import invoice images directly into your finance tool for faster cross-checking and easy auditing. So again, we're going through all these efficient invoicing, and we're looking at all the different ways that we can improve our invoice efficiency. And as you start to look, you start to see, wow, there's an awful lot of places of potential opportunity. And hopefully you're sitting there thinking, oh man, we don't do this. We don't do this. I wonder if we do this. So hopefully you will have questions to ask. We will stimulate a lot of conversations to be had with your colleagues after the webinar today. And then, of course, we want to mitigate manual processes. We want to remove that human error. We don't want to be keying. Again, we want to reallocate AP time to value-add activities, and we want to automate controls for policy compliance. There are ways to almost make it, you almost force policy compliance in some ways. You can have soft stops and hard stops. So it's good. You got to have the policy in place, but you can really, through the tool, you can really make sure that you have that appropriate level of segregation of duties. And I know if you can let your auditors verify that without having to sit down with them for an hour, I think you will be very happy. So, and then it's also great to have that mobility. Again, we want to be able folks to review and approve invoices on the road. What does that mean? It means we remove bottlenecks. And again, I'm hitting on this hard, but this is where I think AP has really not taken, it's really taken a long time to really jump on this area. Is look at the time allocation, value add activities, inefficiency, writing checks, taking a long time to process AP is not a cost of doing business. You can do better. And again, we can talk about cost mitigation. We want to be efficient. We want to avoid late fees. Again, there might be cases where you need to make those payments, but let's make educated decisions. You can avoid costly payment types. Again, let's see if we can avoid checks. You can avoid friction with suppliers, again, with effective supplier onboarding, effective communication, electronic communication with respect to documents, and also just having that history so you can pull up. So you're able to pull up right in that activity. You can actually see the genesis of that relationships, be proactive in your relationship management. And of course, we don't want that manual data entry. And let's talk about supplier relationships. So if we have efficient invoicing, as I mentioned before, with technology, communication, this is also kind of one version of the truth. You can mitigate information asymmetries. You can have timely communications. You can have proactive issue resolution. If I was in accounts payable, I would just be frustrated if, let's just say that you don't have a dedicated account and you have a phone call with a supplier and that supplier called someone else and has had the same phone call 8 times with someone. So if we had visibility into supplier issues, we could cut that off at the pass. We could have a conversation, say, oh, okay, how do we make sure that this doesn't happen again next month? How do we communicate efficiently with our suppliers to make sure that doesn't happen? And then this is something that's often lost. If we are more efficient in our AP processing, if we can get our suppliers to select electronic payments, right? And we can get them that remittance information, then guess what? We're going to lower their AR processing costs for it's a win-win, right? So great AP at my company means efficient AR at your company. So I think if we can communicate that, it's awesome. And I think there's a big myth out there that your suppliers don't want electronic payments. Research is showing that is no longer the case. So having that good relationship will have them be receptive to you saying, have you ever thought about this? Because if we can start to exchange information electronically, we can actually lower your AR processing costs. And in some cases, with certain companies on the AR side, if they have enough good partners like us, we can actually remove the need for lockboxes, which was one of my pet peeves in Treasury. And then we want to be able to have these reportings and insights. Those things actually absolutely facilitate efficient invoicing. What do you want to be able to do? Compare month-to-month invoice spend. Again, let's look at trends. Let's look at the top level, are they going the right way? Do we expect them to go up or go down? Let's look at that variance analysis, what's causing those. we can negotiate with vendors. We can pinpoint expense types that impact cash flow, so we can be more proactive with our treasury colleagues. And if we're going to forecast, when we forecast AP, we're going to really focus on those the biggest expenses that we have. Again, by department, we can get patterns, and then we want to compare year over year, month over month. We can compare to benchmarks. And so benchmarks, that's another webinar. Benchmarks, you want to look at not only what you're doing year over year, month over month, you want to look at how you compare for your industry as well. And those benchmarks are much more readily available. And so let's get to your vision of change. So these will help, some of these will help you create that vision. So in create that vision, you want to identify the trends in departmental spending, company spending. You're going to spot overspending. You're going to correct spending behavior. So how do I do that? You're going to figure out how to protect cash flows and understand the status from month to month, what's driving your metrics. You can provide leadership teams with crucial access to spending data. So we want to be able to facilitate that reporting that delivers business intelligence. Business intelligence, it doesn't mean information. It means only information. It means information that impact decisions. You can partner with other departments to support their financial goals. So these are all part of the value proposition, right, for investing in AP automation. So you can say, hey, if you're not the CFO, hey, CFO, Mrs. CFO, right? Identifying trends in company and departmental spend. This is what I can do. I can spot overspending. We can protect cash flow. We can provide access to spending data. We can encourage vendors to pay when we want to pay, or how we want to pay, when we want to pay. We could partner with other departments to achieve their goals, and we can inform company-wide strategic decision-making at the top level. That's a pretty compelling case to have that vision. These are all the things that we can accomplish. Oh, and by the way, we're going to lower invoice processing costs. We're going to impact productivity. We're going to improve working capital management as well. So good stuff. So just to take a little bit of a deeper dive real quick, I like to get into a little bit of the supplier onboarding points just so people have that. Again, supplier relationship managements are crucial. Some of the things we can see, again, we talked about this. You don't want to add illegal suppliers. We can have sanctions, especially if you're doing business across borders. We can have supplier data quality issues, duplicate suppliers, incorrect payments information. So these are all issues that we have. And so we want to, every interaction that we have with our supplier is important, and we need to understand that from accounts payable. So how effectively we service and collaborate with our suppliers depends on how efficiently we are going to be able to pay them and determine when and how we pay them. More pain points, talked about these. You can have a lack of visibility. You can have inefficient dispute resolution. We can have untimely communication because of systems issues. And then we can be in a position where we're always reactive instead of proactive. So a little more data which might be of interest. This is something you would want to ask internally or find out. How would you characterize the overall state of your company's supplier relationships? From my past webinars, almost 500 folks, we have 44% acceptable, 13% not the best, 4%. So we need this to be good, right? So we see that the number here is 28%. So just to see. Also, you might say, oh, there's a lot of other companies that have the same issues that we do, but acceptable in today's world. We don't need to accept acceptable. I think we should all be here, and then you have those conversations. Say, what does that mean to communicate and collaborate? It mean to communicate, right? Do we have one version of the truth? Are we proactive? How much time do we spend on issue resolution? Have we collaborated and made sure that we're paying the way that we want to pay? Right? What's the timing of our payment? So if we have control over those as much as possible, then that's what we mean. So I talked about this, better relationships. What does that mean? Facilitates master records and all related banking information. I've seen full webinars on how to make sure your supplier master records are accurate. Here's the way: get them on Supplier Portal. It facilitates opportunities to capture discounts, negotiate discounts, and mitigates time spent on the phone, which can be hundreds or thousands of hours a year. Just some numbers behind some of the savings you might be able to see. This is from Ardent Partners, but again, this depends on where you're at. So, best in class for assuming this is your industry fit, right, against all others, just to show you the process cost can be $13. It could be more. Just that's a ball. It's a good number. Look at the time to process an invoice. Huh. 210 net 30. Oops, can't take that. If we takes us 12 days, right? 3.5 days, that gives us a lot of opportunities to potentially move when we pay. We invoice exception rate. I would expect this to be an even bigger difference here, right? So I think that's where we'll see more focus on the technology side. Straight through processing, again, this drives down costs and improves efficiency. We want to see this invoices electronically. And then if we get into the manufacturing side, especially links to PO, so that's another area. But just to kind of put some quantitative numbers and percentages, just to see, kind of open your eyes a little bit and see, wow, those are big numbers. And again, where are you at in each area? Where can you get to, and how can you get there, just to help you make that value proposition? Payments points, go through this pretty quickly. We talked about this. We have that visibility. We can have discounts lost. We can have costly payments methods. And if we have costly payments methods and we can't control when the payments are going out, that means ineffective working capital management. And if we don't have mobile functionality, we can have cumbersome controls. Just to start to look at payment types, again, I think you should look at optimizing your payment types, how you're paying. So work with your treasury folks. If you're not in treasury, how are we paying suppliers? Checks first, electronic, which is ACH, Fedwire, commercial card versus checks. And then let's see that. Interesting to see for the US, finally, checks are under 50%. So if you were in Europe, checks would be like 10%. So just some interesting thing to show that we're starting to shift. So our myth that our suppliers don't want electronic payments, that is gone. So let me do a quick polling question here. Just asking you, how would you characterize the current mix of your supplier payment types? You have majority by checks, majority by electronic payments, about an equal amount, or you don't know. So again, this can be an area of a low-hanging fruit, especially if you have the majority by checks, as you can go back and say, well, why are we writing checks? How can we collaborate with our suppliers? And that can be a big cost savings. And again, it can also be beneficial to your suppliers on the AR processing side. So let's go ahead. I'm going to leave the polling question up for just another 5 seconds or so. And let's go ahead and take a quick peek at the results. So I'm going to give you another 5 seconds or so. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look here. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the results. So pleasantly surprised. I guess it's about what I'm seeing, but I'm happy to see 26%. I would like to see that number be 0. I'd like to see 41%. I think that's where we can all be. So 20%. Again, if you're not doing very, very minimal checks, some things are the battle's not worth the cost. But in general, I think it's good to have a target. This is where we're at. This is where we want to be. Of course, you want to be cognizant of that relationship with the suppliers. But normally, if you offer electronic payment and explain to them the value they can offer them, they are going to want to switch. You have to be ready for that, of course. So thank you very much, everyone, for your taking the time to answer that polling question. Just a little context with some of my other survey, my webinar attendees, about the same for majority by checks, equal amount here, right over here, majority by electronic payments. We are 45 to 41%, so pretty consistent with what we're seeing. Again, we want to see this number go to 0. So just payment cost by type, just some information just to drive the point home. Sending a paper check is 10 times more expensive than an internal cost of sending an ACH payment. Receiving a paper check on the side of your supplier. Do you know that receiving a paper check costs you 5 times more than to process electronic payment? If I send you the remittance information, okay, we want to change. Thank you very much. Easy, not easy, but it makes a lot of sense. Just some information here versus the different costs. So if you want to get into the looking at the optimization by your card type as well. So again, I encourage folks to look at your payment portfolio. How are you making payments? Are there changes? Maybe we want to have a goal. Maybe we want to maybe we need to look at offering, changing the way we make payments. And then we probably want to have a program in place to convert suppliers to target payment types, and your AP automation suppliers can certainly help in that regard. A quick note of caution, you want to have some control over that messaging with your partners, but they can be very valuable. They're very versed in that. So just some conversion, some realities that help us, motivate us to make that payment, to mitigate our number of checks. The risk of payments fraud is actually less with electronic payments. A lot of data from the AFP on this. More and more companies prefer electronic payments. Again, technology can automate the collection and capture of remittances. Technology can automate the linking of remittance to payment data. And then SaaS-based solutions result in minimal overhead for the IT department, so we can facilitate that remittance without a tremendous amount of IT investment. And then on the adoption side, help us do that, facilitate that, those conversions. We want to have efficient and effective processes on our side to support. We want to be a good customer to our suppliers. Again, we want to communicate the benefits. We can work with our e-payable solution providers. We might want to have a multi-stage phase-out program. And then we can, I talked about earlier, we can select an electronic payment type. Let's talk about choosing the right solution. And so again, some cool thought leadership invoices from our webinar partner, just kind of cool. These are some of the reasons: category, price, customizable, recommended by service provider, integrates with corporate card, level of customer service. Those of you who have ever listened to a webinar from me or know exactly what I'm going to say before I say it. You're probably finishing my sentence. This is what we need. Level of service support offered. This is huge, huge, huge. You want to have the, customizable. In this world, I would not go with price, and I would not, brand is absolutely important. Hopefully get your foot in the door, but let's look at customer service. Let's look at maybe the recommendations from people in your industry, the same systems, but just some criteria for you to think about. Closing thoughts. Invoice processing. Again, these are good to print. A couple slides. I think these are extremely valuable. I wish I would have had these when I was in the treasury world. Invoice processing. You want to eliminate manual process. You want to facilitate electronic information exchange. You want to remove information asymmetries. You want to be able to provide proactive and consistent support, maintain open lines of communication, establish visibility, and take control of how you pay suppliers. How can we do that? We need the right technology, process, right? People. Supplier relationships. We want to make that onboarding process easier. We want to educate our suppliers as to accepting the type of payments and timing we like. We can look at our supplier contracts. Again, some of the same advice from the earlier slide. All of these together facilitate a more productive relationships. Payments optimization, the type of payment that you want to make. You need to understand your supplier's cost. You want to, by supplier, you want to have a strategy to convert them from checks. First, what do we want? Checks to electronic payments. You need to be able to communicate the benefits to your partner, and then it often makes sense to partner with an e-payable supplier. And then in closing, my last slide with my closing comments. I apologize we didn't have time for Q&A. Had an awful lot of content to get through, so I'll follow up with you directly with any questions. Again, mitigating. Why is the hype worth it for AP automation? AP done right, which is driven often by AP automation. Mitigate invoice processing costs. Mitigate duplicate payment of invoices. Mitigate time spent resolving supplier issues. Allows discounts to be captured. Impacts productivity of all those involved in the processing. The process from A to Z. Mitigates payment processing costs and improves working capital management. Again, here's a CFO capper here. I'm going to lower costs. I'm going to improve productivity, right? I'm going to impact costs, and I'm going to impact the top line. We're going to facilitate growth. We are going to be an intelligence hub, completely compelling business case. So just a few other closing slides. I've gone through those before. So I'm going to go ahead and launch our final polling question as we wind down with our webinar today. So again, I think it's a really exciting time for accounts payable, and I think the hype is absolutely warranted. So I think it makes sense for everyone to take a deeper look. Even if you already have an AP automation solution, make sure that you're getting the most out of the solution that you have. I would like to once again thank our webinar partner today, SAP Concur. We appreciate and share their commitment to thought leadership, which is also evident in the great content and resources they offer, which you can review by visiting the SAP Concur website. And finally, to you, our audience, thank you so much for your valuable time today. I appreciate each and every one of you. Make the rest of your day great, everyone.